Chapter 6, Differentiation Strategies for Level 4 Students by Albert Chavez, Raquel Harmori, Alexandra Ortega, Rihanna Rahimi, Cassandra Sanchez, and Nicolette Sandoval. Considering variations in Level 4 student backgrounds. Mariela is a 5th grade student from El Salvador who was adopted into a very supportive English-speaking family when she was a 2nd grader. Mariela did not learn to read or write in Spanish while in El Salvador and quickly picked up English in her new environment. Her adoptive siblings help Mariela with her homework and help her with her writing by texting each other regularly. Mariela's family have shown patience with respect to her inappropriate behavior in school when she first came to America, as she was not used to socializing in a classroom. When she was in 3rd grade, the teachers wanted to place her in special education due to her abnormal behavior. However, the special education teacher recognized that Mariela just needed to make some social and cultural adjustments and did not have a cognitive or behavioral disorder. Moreover, Rafael is also a 5th grader, and he came to the United States from Mexico. Rafael was on grade level in Mexico, and when he moved to America with his uncle and cousins, he was considered for the GATE program when he learned English so quickly. However, he did not pass the test to qualify for GATE because it is designed for native English speakers, which Rafael is not. However, this did not stop the teachers from recognizing that Rafael is indeed gifted. Rafael also gets along with his classmates and participates in class, but he does not do homework because his uncle has him cook and do chores as he gets distracted by his younger cousins. Rafael also wants to play the trumpet in the school band, but his uncle cannot afford the instrument, so the teachers decided to seek donations of used instruments from former band alumni so Rafael can play and develop his musical ability.
Level 4 student descriptors. Within student descriptors, there are 4 categories that involve listening, speaking, reading, and writing. Within listening, students can process complex social and academic input, which allows them to understand abstract and concrete topics. Students can find meaning in longer stretches of communication in this stage. During this stage, students understand how to express language in social and academic situations. Their language is growing in complexity and vocabulary precision. Students are fluent in social contexts and are approaching fluency in academic contexts. Within reading, students are able to make sense of varying complexity within text. Students are also able to comprehend texts that deal with familiar topics but need support when reading unfamiliar texts. The students need prior knowledge to be built before they read unfamiliar texts. Teachers should always encourage students to read higher levels. Lastly, writing, which reflects our speaking ability. Students are capable of producing complex communication with precision in vocabulary and mechanics. Students can also write about abstract concepts that are at higher grade level. As with speaking, errors may occur but doesn't impede understanding, meaning they will have errors, but it doesn't mean that they're not understanding how to write. Here you'll see a sample differentiated assignment for level 4 students. And you can see that this is found in the book, and you can see that there's a section for fully proficient level 4 students and level 5 students. It basically highlights language-based expectations, scaffolding, and support. A sample differentiated assignment for level 4 students. This is to kind of go off of what the figure is. So based on the table 6.1, they provide a sample of what could be used to support students. The table shows a sample assignment differentiated for students at both level 4s and 5. So you can see that there are scaffolding and supports that could be used for both levels. For example, in both levels, you could provide scaffolding by modeling an assignment, and this is something you'd want to do in both levels. You also want to have many collaborative opportunities with other teachers that will help you plan for the learning of ELLs. So basically having time for you to collaborate with other teachers will better you to support your students with that need extra support in English language.
Necessary assignments and assessment strategies for level 4 students include, well, for the most part, large-scale standardized tests and classroom tests are designed for native speakers, and they tend to be problematic for ELLs. Tests designed for native speakers likely reflect on both language proficiency and content knowledge for ELLs, and scores then become difficult to interpret. And if students lack full English proficiency, they are unable to comprehend the unmodified grade level questions or simply produce an appropriate response linguistically. So with that said, do they represent proficiency in the language or in content or in both? Assessments need to be given that are designed to take into account both the current linguistics and the cultural realities of all students. ELLs must be provided with access to a level playing field where demonstration of learning is the concern. It is also important that teachers engage students in grade level assessments with scaffolds and supports. They have, at this level, students have acquired sufficient language proficiency and they're able to participate in grade level assignments and assessments as long as they are receiving the scaffolds and support that they need. Some of these may include additional explanations on how to complete a task, extra time, peer or teacher tutoring, and possibly the use of bilingual dictionaries or other resources. Level 4 students also need targeted corrections that will facilitate higher levels of proficiency. And one could be providing scoring rubrics that are differentiated for these students. Another thing teachers should consider are weighted grading components that align with the students' linguistic strengths. The grading of level 4 students should highlight what these students can do linguistically rather than reflect on the expectations of grade level production. Demystify and clarify the assessment process by using specific and accessible scoring rubric supports students in their understanding of expectations that are set for them. Differentiate expectations and make sure you do that according to language proficiency levels of the individual students. Teachers must make the assessment process comprehensible, and in doing so, one must explain the directions orally and provide visual supports as well. Some of these include manipulatives and models, as well as realia and icons. And although level 4 students may understand the directions for an assignment or an assessment, teachers should not be quick to make assumptions. School experiences as well from other schools may be different, and classroom tasks may be unfamiliar to our ELLs. Simultaneously assess content and language development, and ways to do this include summarizing, storytelling, questioning and responding, analyzing and evaluating. One must increase refined language proficiency, which allows students to articulate content learning in a more precise way and address more abstract content. So this aligns with their comprehension. Teachers should construct tasks that require students to respond with more complex discourse and vocabulary as well.
Listening and speaking. So teachers should use increasingly academic and grammatically varied language about concrete and abstract topics, and the language should reflect discourse level frames and models used during instruction. So level 4 English language learners must be pushed to produce more advanced language, and the language must be explicitly taught. Reading. Level 4 students can derive meaning from grade level texts that are high quality, age appropriate, and provide visual support. Some of these visual supports may include graphs, clip art, videos, and/or colorful posters. Scaffolding, or even though these students can read more independently, scaffolding and support should still be given as needed. This includes connecting new information to prior experiences, teaching the academic vocabulary before reading the texts, making predictions, etc. Traditional paper and pencil tests should also include visuals as well as linguistic scaffolding so that ELLs can better understand the test content. Although students may be able to understand individual words, they may not understand the way sentences are worded on a test. So certain phrases such as choose all of the following except, those might be easy questions for students who are proficient in English, but they might be more difficult for ELLs to understand. So teachers should teach this kind of test language before giving out assessments. Writing. Writing should include a variety of academic and grammatically correct language. The language should reflect discourse level frames and models used by the teachers. So teachers should model the way they want their writing to look for their students. When using writing assessments, educators should decide if they want to assess content knowledge or writing ability or both. Teachers should hold all students accountable for their writing ability so that they feel encouraged to show their authentic writing. So teachers shouldn't just make assignments easier for their ELLs just because they feel bad for them. They should still try to challenge all of their students in their own way. Students may make minor errors that don't interfere with what they are trying to portray in their writing, and that's okay as long as the writing is comprehensible. And teachers shouldn't expect any more or any less from English language learners compared to their English proficient classmates. Teachers should be wise about what kinds of assessments are given. For example, essay exams would be a good way to test students, and then they should repeat the directions multiple times to make sure the students understand them.
Some necessary instructional strategies for level 4 students. Overall, teachers should provide sensory support for every lesson. This includes real objects, pictures, hands-on materials, and so on. Some teachers may suspect that level 4 students no longer need sensory supports. Some level 4 students might be ready to show more learning independence, but some will not. It is important to be familiar with the student and to make appropriate decisions and maximize instructional impact. Teachers must explicitly teach and require students to use content, academic, and grammatically varied language about concrete and abstract topics with diminishing errors. For students to make progress towards language proficiency, teachers must explicitly teach this type of language. This type of teaching is meaningful for both English language learners as well as non-English language learners. Students, both ELs and non-ELs, are unlikely to use academic language unless teachers integrate modeling and practice into daily classroom activities. Teachers are urged to require academic language from these students. Teachers must provide scaffolding and support needed to engage in grade level assignments and assessments. Level 4 students are not yet proficient in English. However, they will be likely to engage in grade level assignments. Teachers must provide scaffolding and support to help students achieve success on grade level assignments. For listening, scaffolding language development by modeling and prompting increasingly academic and grammatically varied language about both concrete and abstract topics. Language in the classroom must be proficient English, complete with complex sentence structures and sophisticated vocabulary. This type of high-level discourse will promote English language learners to go out on a limb and try something new. The school day may be the only day that English language learners have language enrichment. Teachers must promote higher order thinking processes during oral teaching by providing students with graphic organizers. Graphic organizers facilitate and support the students in attending details through listening. This will allow students to record information they consider important and better understand relationships among ideas and concepts. This will allow the students to be better prepared to gain meaning from any auditory input. For speaking, teachers must provide opportunities to produce extended oral discourse and increasingly inclusive of abstract thought. Level 4 students are linguistically prepared to engage in increasingly imaginative and complex activities across domains. Students should be given the opportunity to research, edit, rewrite, rehearse, etc. to help students' abilities to produce academic discourse. Setting high expectations will help develop language across all domains. Scaffold extended oral language production by providing visually supported discourse level frames and models for high quality academic discourse. This includes expanded and well-organized paragraphs of varying length and complexity. This must be intentional and embedded in instruction. Level 4 students may develop precise questioning abilities. Teachers must be able to scaffold the student's question that will serve the student well. Teachers must insist on increasingly correct and precise language. Level 4 students are in need of focused language instruction and correction by teachers. Oral communication of level 4 students is unlikely to be far from perfect, and the teacher's job is to set high standards. This will allow for the student to increase their precision and correctness. Teachers must continue to provide alternate structures, academic vocabulary, and models.
Necessary instructional strategies for level 4 students. For reading, use a combination of grade level text with scaffolding and high quality, age appropriate, lower reading level books align with content curriculum that provide visual support. Examples of support include teacher explanation, pre-teaching of vocabulary, glossaries, advanced organizers and outlines, other topical resources such as first-person accounts, magazines, newspapers, articles, internet research. Another reading strategy would be providing students with graphic organizers to enhance higher order thinking. Students can also create graphic organizers themselves to help make sense of written text. Teachers can provide higher order question or prompt to focus students' thinking. Then they create a graphic organizer. For example, in the classroom, a topic could be analyze the reasons for the Civil War from a Northern perspective. Writing strategies may include providing opportunities to produce extended written discourse, increasingly inclusive of abstract thought. So examples of this could include essays in which students evaluate solutions to a given problem. That could be pollution as a topic, or when students persuade others to take a stand on an issue. The merits of vegetarianism could be an example of that. Or students outlining the implications of current event or issue, healthcare, for instance. Another writing strategy would include scaffolding extended written language production by providing visual supported discourse level frames and models for high quality academic discourse. For writing, just like with speaking, posted sentences and language frames are helpful with guiding students in language production. Frames also provide templates that are more complex structures for organization and for expansion from sentence to discourse level language. Another writing strategy would include insisting on increasingly correct and precise language. So teachers must insist on students' sustained efforts to achieve proficiency through the production of correct and precise language. For instance, if a student were to write, "The liquid in the jar began to boil after 1 minute," the teacher might prompt the student to instead say beaker rather than jar.